You think you are learning. You think you are growing. But here is what nobody tells you. Most of what you call learning is just collecting information you will never use. Most of what you call growth is just feeling busy while standing still. Welcome to Elingo, where we do not just teach English. We challenge how you think about learning itself. This is not another channel promising quick results or easy tricks. This is where you discover what real progress looks like and why most people never experience it. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you learned something that actually changed your behavior? Not just something you found interesting. Not just something you agreed with. Something that made you act differently the next day. If you are like most people, you cannot remember. And that is the problem. We live in the golden age of information. You can learn anything, anytime, anywhere. Free courses, YouTube videos, podcasts, books. Yet most people are not getting smarter. They are not improving. Instead, they are drowning in confusion. The Internet promised to democratize knowledge. Instead, it created the biggest illusion in human history. The illusion that consuming information equals learning. Here is what really happens. You watch a video about productivity. You feel motivated for 20 minutes. Then you go back to your old habits. You read a book about success. You underlined the important parts. The book sits on your shelf forever. You take an online course. You finish 30% of it. You never apply anything. You tell yourself you are learning, but you are not learning. You are just feeding an addiction to the feeling of learning. This is the trap, and almost nobody talks about it because almost nobody realizes they are in it. Now, imagine Elon Musk is your teacher. Not the celebrity version you see on social media, the real Elon Musk. The one who taught himself rocket science by reading textbooks. The one who works 100 hours a week not because he has to, but because he chose a problem that matters. The one who has failed more times than most people have tried. What would he teach you? Would he give you tips and tricks? Would he share inspiring quotes? Would he tell you to follow your passion? No, he would probably make you uncomfortable. Because the first thing he would teach you is this: your comfort is your enemy. Every time you choose comfort over challenge, you are choosing to stay the same. And staying the same in a changing world means falling behind. You do not fall behind because you are not talented. You fall behind because you are optimizing for the wrong thing. You are optimizing for feeling good instead of getting good. Most people misunderstand what learning means. They think learning is about acquiring knowledge. It is not. Knowledge that does not change your actions is just trivia. It is entertainment. Real learning is about changing behavior. Real learning is uncomfortable, messy, and slow. It requires you to confront the gap between who you are and who you want to be. And most people cannot handle that gap. so they fill it with more information instead. Think about language learning. How many people do you know who have been learning English for years but still cannot have a real conversation? They know grammar rules. They have big vocabularies. They have taken many classes. But they freeze when a foreigner talks to them. Why? Because they optimized for knowledge, not ability. They studied what was comfortable, what felt like progress, what gave them good grades. They avoided what was hard, speaking to real people, making mistakes in public, sounding stupid until they sound smart. This pattern appears everywhere. People who read about fitness but never exercise. People who watch business videos but never start anything. People who talk about their dreams but never take the first step. The pattern is always the same. They consume instead of create. They prepare instead of practice. They learn about doing instead of doing. And here is the painful truth. This is a choice. You are choosing this. Nobody is forcing you to stay in the learning trap. You stay because it feels safer than the alternative. Learning feels productive without the risk of failure. You can tell yourself you are making progress while avoiding the one thing that actually creates progress: action. Let me tell you what most motivational content will not tell you. Action without learning is dangerous, but learning without action is pointless. The magic happens at the intersection. You learn something small, you apply it immediately. You see what works and what does not. You adjust. You learn something else, you apply it again. This cycle, repeated thousands of times, is what separates people who transform their lives from people who just know a lot. Elon Musk did not become Elon Musk by knowing more than everyone else. He became Elon Musk by doing more than everyone else. He read about rockets. Then he tried to build rockets. He failed. He read more. He tried again. He failed again. He kept going. Each failure taught him something no book could teach. Each attempt refined his understanding in ways no course could provide. Knowledge guided his action. Action deepened his knowledge. The cycle never stopped. This is the model you need. Not the model of collecting information until you feel ready. You will never feel ready. Not the model of waiting for the perfect moment. The perfect moment does not exist. The model of starting before you are ready, learning as you go, and trusting the process to make you capable. But here is what makes this so hard. Our entire education system taught us the opposite. We learned to study first, act later. We learned that mistakes are bad. We learned that the goal is to know the right answer. Then we enter the real world and discover that the real world does not work like school. In the real world, there is no textbook with all the answers. There is no teacher giving you the exact steps. There is only uncertainty and your willingness to move forward despite it. This is why most people struggle. Not because they lack intelligence, not because they lack resources, but because they never learned how to learn in the real world. They never learned that confusion is part of the process. They never learned that failure is data, not defeat. They never learned that the path forward is never clear at the start. It only becomes clear as you walk it. You want to know what Elon Musk would really teach you? He would teach you to embrace the fog, to start walking even when you cannot see the destination, to trust that clarity comes from action, not from thinking. He would teach you that your tolerance for uncertainty determines your potential. If you can only act when everything is clear, your potential is limited. If you can act while everything is unclear, your potential is unlimited. Think about SpaceX. When Elon decided to build rockets, he knew almost nothing about aerospace engineering. Experts told him it was impossible. The odds of success were less than 10%. He had no clear plan, no proven path. Just a goal and a willingness to figure it out. Now look at SpaceX. They launch more rockets than entire countries. They land rockets on floating platforms in the ocean. They are planning to colonize Mars. None of this would exist if Elon waited until he felt ready. None of this would exist if he only acted when the path was clear. This is the difference between people who create extraordinary results and people who dream about extraordinary results. Extraordinary people do not wait for certainty. They create certainty through action. They do not wait for confidence. They build confidence through repetition. They do not wait for the perfect plan. They start with a rough plan and improve it as they go. Now let me connect this to your English learning or whatever skill you are trying to develop. You do not need more resources. You do not need more time. You do not need a better teacher or a more expensive course. You need to change your relationship with uncertainty and discomfort. You need to stop treating learning like a spectator sport. You need to get in the game, even if you are not ready, even if you will mess up, even if it feels awkward. Here is what actually works. Find the smallest possible action you can take today, not tomorrow, not next week, today. If you are learning English, do not watch another grammar video. Open your phone and send a voice message in English to yourself. It will sound terrible. Good. That is the starting point. If you want to build something, do not spend another week researching. Open your laptop and write the first sentence of your plan. It will be messy. Perfect. That is where improvement begins. The goal is not to do it perfectly. The goal is to close the gap between learning and doing. The smaller that gap, the faster you improve. The larger that gap, the more you stay stuck. Most people have a massive gap. They learn for months before they try anything. Then they wonder why they do not see results. They do not see results because results come from doing, not from knowing. This might sound harsh. It might sound like I am saying your learning was worthless. That is not what I am saying. Knowledge matters, but knowledge only matters when it serves action. Knowledge without action is like a map without a journey. Interesting to look at, but it does not take you anywhere. Action without knowledge is like a journey without a map. You move, but you might move in circles. The combination is what creates transformation. You learn enough to take the next step. You take that step. You learn from what happens. You take another step. This is the rhythm of real progress. Let me give you a different way to think about this. Imagine two people. Person A spends a year studying everything about swimming. They read books about technique. They watch Olympic swimmers. They understand the physics of water resistance. They can explain exactly how to swim, but they never get in the pool. Person B spends a week learning the basics, then jumps in the water. They struggle. They swallow water. They get tired quickly. But they keep practicing. After a year, who is the better swimmer? Obviously, Person B. Person A knows more about swimming, but Person B can actually swim. This seems obvious when we talk about swimming. But somehow we forget this obvious truth when we talk about language, business, creativity, or life skills. We act like Person A. We study endlessly. We prepare excessively. We wait for the perfect conditions. Meanwhile, life passes by. Opportunities disappear. Time runs out. And we wonder why we never became who we wanted to become. Elon Musk would tell you to stop wondering and start doing. He would tell you that the distance between your current self and your ideal self is not measured in knowledge. It is measured in actions taken. Every day you do not act is a day that distance stays the same. Every day you do act, even imperfectly, is a day that distance gets smaller. Small actions compound over time. This is not motivational nonsense. This is mathematics. If you improve 1% every day, you are 37 times better after a year. If you improve 0% every day while consuming information, you are exactly the same after a year, just more informed. Here is another truth. Most of what you learn will be wrong or outdated within a few years. Technology changes. Culture changes. Best practices change. The only thing that does not change is your ability to adapt, to learn quickly, and to apply what you learn. If you spend all your time acquiring fixed knowledge, you are preparing for a world that no longer exists. If you spend your time developing the ability to learn and adapt, you are prepared for any world. This is why Elon Musk can jump from industry to industry. Electric cars, space exploration, brain-computer interfaces, underground transportation. He is not an expert in all these fields. He is an expert at becoming an expert quickly. He reads intensely, but he reads with a purpose. He learns what he needs to take the next action. He takes that action. He learns from the result. He adjusts. he repeats. This cycle makes him dangerous in any field he enters. You can develop the same ability. Not to Elon's level maybe, but to a level that transforms your life. The ability to identify what you need to learn right now. Learn just enough. Apply immediately. Observe the results. Course correct. Repeat. This is the skill that makes all other skills possible. This is the skill that no course teaches because it cannot be taught in a course. It can only be developed through practice. So what is stopping you? Fear, probably. Fear of looking stupid. Fear of failing. Fear of wasting time on the wrong thing. These fears are normal. Everyone has them. But here is what successful people understand that others do not. These fears never go away. You do not overcome them by thinking about them. You overcome them by acting despite them. Each time you act while afraid, the fear gets a little smaller. Not because the situation gets less scary, but because you get stronger. Think about your first day at a new job, or your first day at school in a new place, or the first time you tried something difficult. You were terrified. Everything was confusing. You made mistakes, but you survived. And the second day was easier. Not because the job changed, because you changed. You built confidence through experience. This is how growth works. You do not wait until you are confident to act. You act and confidence follows. Now, imagine applying this to everything you want to learn. You do not wait until you are ready to speak English. You speak imperfectly, then improve. You do not wait until you are ready to speak English. You start speaking, make mistakes, then improve. You do not wait until you are ready to speak English. You speak first, improve later. Every action, even failed action, makes you more capable. Every delay, even justified delay, keeps you the same. This is the core lesson Elon Musk would teach you. Bias toward action. When in doubt, do something. When afraid, do something. When uncertain, do something. Not reckless action. Not action without thought. But action before you feel completely ready. Because you will never feel completely ready. That feeling you are waiting for does not come before you start. It comes after you have started and proven to yourself that you can handle it. Let me make this practical. Here is what you can do right now, today, to start closing the gap between learning and doing. First, identify one skill you have been learning but not applying. Just one. Not 5, not 10, 1. Second, define the smallest possible action you can take to apply that skill. So small that you cannot fail. If you are learning English, the action could be writing 3 sentences in English. If you are learning about business, the action could be writing down 1 business idea. Make it ridiculously small. Third, do that action today, not tomorrow. Today, before you go to sleep. Fourth, notice how you feel after you do it, not before, after. You will probably feel relief. You will probably feel a small sense of accomplishment. That feeling is important. That is the feeling of progress. Fifth, do it again tomorrow, and the next day, and the day after. Do not increase the difficulty yet. Just build the habit of doing. After 2 weeks of daily action, no matter how small, you will notice something. The action gets easier. You get faster. You start seeing improvements. You might even start enjoying it. This is when you increase the difficulty slightly. Write 5 sentences instead of 3. Come up with 3 business ideas instead of 1. The key is gradual progression. Most people fail because they try to do too much too soon. They go from 0 to 100. They burn out. They quit. Then they blame themselves for not having discipline. But it was not a discipline problem. It was a design problem. They designed a plan that was impossible to sustain. Sustainable progress requires sustainable action. Sustainable action requires starting smaller than you think necessary. Your ego will resist this. Your ego wants you to make big, impressive changes. Your ego wants you to tell people about your ambitious plans. Ignore your ego. Start small. Stay consistent. Let the results speak. In 6 months, you will have made more progress than people who started big and quit after 2 weeks. This approach works for everything. Language learning, fitness, business, relationships, creative projects. The principle is universal. Start smaller than you think you should. Do it more consistently than you think you need to. Give it more time than you think it requires. Most people do the opposite. They start big, stay inconsistent, and quit early. Then they conclude that they are not talented or that the goal was not meant for them. But the goal was always possible. They just used the wrong method. Elon Musk understands this. When SpaceX started, they did not try to build the most advanced rocket in the world. They tried to build a rocket that could reach orbit. Just orbit. That was the goal. Simple, clear, achievable. They failed 3 times, 3 very expensive failures. Most people would have quit. Elon kept going because he understood something important. Failure is not the opposite of progress. Giving up is the opposite of progress. Failure is just information. It tells you what does not work so you can try something else. You need to adopt the same mindset. When you try to speak English and you make mistakes, you did not fail. You collected data. Now you know which words you need to practice. When you start a project and it does not work out, you did not fail. You learned what does not work. Now you can try something different. This reframe changes everything. Instead of fearing failure, you start seeing it as a necessary part of the process. Instead of avoiding challenges, you start seeking them because that is where the learning happens. But here is the thing most people miss. This mindset does not come naturally. It comes from practice. You develop it by failing small, recovering quickly, and trying again. You cannot develop it by reading about it. You cannot develop it by watching videos about resilience. You develop it by being resilient, by actually facing setbacks and choosing to continue. There is no shortcut. There is only practice. So, if Elon Musk were your teacher, he would not give you a comfortable lesson. He would not make you feel good about where you are. He would push you into the deep end and make you swim. Not because he is cruel, but because he knows something you might not know yet. You are more capable than you think. Your limits are mostly in your mind. And the only way to discover your real limits is to push past your imagined ones. This is uncomfortable to hear. It is easier to believe that you are limited by circumstances, by resources, by time, by talent. Because if you are limited by external factors, then it is not your fault. You can stay comfortable. But if your limits are self-imposed, if you are choosing to stay small, then the responsibility is yours. And responsibility is heavy. It is easier to blame the world than to change yourself. But here is what happens when you accept that responsibility. You become powerful. Not powerful in the sense of having control over everything. Powerful in the sense of knowing you can handle anything. When you stop waiting for perfect conditions, you stop being a victim of conditions. When you stop waiting to feel ready, you stop being controlled by fear. When you stop needing permission, you stop being limited by other people's opinions. You become the author of your own life instead of a character in someone else's story. This is what learning really means. Not accumulating facts, not collecting certificates, but transforming who you are, expanding what you are capable of, building evidence that you can do hard things. This kind of learning changes you. It makes you more confident, more resilient, more adaptable. It makes you someone who can handle uncertainty, someone who can solve problems they have never seen before, someone who can create value in a changing world. The world does not need more people who know a lot. The world needs more people who can do a lot. People who can take an idea and make it real. People who can see a problem and create a solution. People who can learn what they need to learn when they need to learn it. This is the future. This is what will separate those who thrive from those who struggle. Not knowledge, capability. Not information, action. So ask yourself this. What would you do if you stopped waiting? What would you create if you stopped preparing? What would you become if you stopped learning about life and started living it? These are not rhetorical questions. These are the most important questions you can answer, because your answers will determine your future. Not the answers you give me, the answers you give through your actions. You are at a choice point right now. You can close this video and go back to comfortable learning, watching more content, collecting more information, telling yourself you are making progress, Or you can do something different. You can close this video and take one small action, one uncomfortable step, one tiny move toward the person you want to become. Neither choice is wrong, but only one choice leads to transformation. If this message resonated with you, if something inside you recognized the truth in these words, then do not let that feeling fade. Save this video. Come back to it when you need a reminder. And more importantly, let it change your behavior today, not tomorrow, today. Because that is how change works. Not through inspiration, through action. Not through intention, through decision. Elingo is here, walking beside you on this journey. Not as your motivational speaker, not as your cheerleader, but as your honest companion. Someone who tells you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. Someone who believes you are capable of more than you are currently showing. Someone who will remind you that the gap between who you are and who you want to be closes one action at a time. The question is not whether you can do it. You can. The question is whether you will. Will you choose action over comfort? Will you choose growth over safety? Will you choose to become instead of just to know? Only you can answer that. But know this. Every day you wait is a day you stay the same. And the world is moving too fast for anyone to stay the same and keep up. So, what will it be? Same or different? Comfort or growth? Knowing or becoming? The choice is yours. Make it now.